Review-A-Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the Mic.
Welcome to the show. It's Review-A-Raw. I'm John Pollock along with Wai Ting.
That's right.
Sporting a very interesting and colorful t-shirt with one Ted DiBiase with his never officially won WWF Championship.
Are you familiar with the reference?
No, give it to me.
Okay, well, this is our friend Robert Pearson's homage to the WWE in 1992, as well as a very beloved time in X-Men comics.
Oh.
So this is a famous X-Men cover by Jim Lee that...
Ted DiBiase was on the cover of an X-Men?
No, it was actually Magneto originally. But yeah, Robert did a great rendition of it, replacing him with Ted DiBiase.
Perfect.
Yeah,
It's very nicely designed.
He's got another one up there too that I like a lot with Flair and Savage. So,
what was his name? The artist.
Robert S. Pearson.
So remember that name.
Check him out on Instagram at Robert S. Pearson.
Robert S. Pearson.
Yes.
All right.
This is wow. I feel like Don West here.
Kind of, yeah. You could stand up and yell. Are you ready to chat about Raw?
Yes.
This took place, Wai. A lot of people are going to make this mistake. They're going to say Little Rock, Arkansas, but I did my research, and it's North Little Rock because it is across from the Arkansas River, and thus it is North Little Rock.
So is the other one South Little Rock?
The other one apparently is just Little Rock.
Oh, wow. That's not fair. Why does one of them have to have a prefix?
Well, I mean... not all geographical regions that have a northern something, necessarily the other is the south.
By default, it becomes... It's like West Virginia and Virginia. It's not... Why do I have to be West Virginia and you're not East?
Fair enough. For every Carolinas, there is a Virginia. You're right. Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into this Raw from North Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay. And it started right off the top with a graphic for Jimmy Snuka. Mm-hmm. And you and I shared our thoughts on this at the start of the show.
Yeah.
So if you're watching the video portion, you can download the podcast for our lengthy discussion on Jimmy Snuka.
Wasn't that lengthy, was it?
I don't know. It felt like it went sometime. Okay. And then we went into a video for Martin Luther King Jr. and various well-known black icons. Rosa Parks, James Brown, Neil deGrasse Tyson was in this.
They pretty much spanned all of Black American history here.
From Muhammad Ali to Tyler Perry, they were all in this video.
Oh, Tyler Perry was in this
Tyler Perry was in this as well.
Okay.
Serena, but not Venus Williams, I also noted.
Serena's the more successful one, right?
Yes.
You can only have one.
Well, I guess
Venus
they really just, I mean...
Venus better step her game
I think
up.
the sisters are pretty well known.
Well, I mean, sorry.
This would be like 50 years from now. They do a Total Divas retrospective, and it's focused on Nikki Bella.
She is the more successful one.
I get maybe.
Yeah,
depending. Then we started the actual show with Roman Reigns coming out, and there was a child with a sign that read "Roman Reigns' biggest fan" with a cutout for his face to fit into and an arrow pointing at this child.
It was adorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that the WWE could file this under stock footage and just have that cutaway ready for every Roman Reigns entrance.
He could be the next Bayley, this kid.
Maybe he's going to go home and write poetry.
Yeah, this could be brought up in like 15 years' time.
Why does it always rain on me? A child's confusion about the live reaction to Roman Reigns.
Wow.
So then Roman, who is booed coming out here, he comes out and he says he cannot complain about losing the numbers game last week to Jericho and Owens because of his days in the Shield. And he emphasizes this by restating, I am not complaining about losing the United States title. It's a real hang-up for them to have their baby faces ever sound like they're complaining. So instead what we got was like, yeah, I lost the title. What's next? That was it. There was no anger. There was no revenge set up. There was no, I'm coming for that United States title that I worked so hard to hold. There was nothing. It was, yeah, I lost the numbers game. On to the next thing.
I feel like
I've got a bigger title match in 2 weeks.
Well, I feel like even the writers couldn't really plausibly script this guy to care about that U.S. title because his stock in the company, as well as all of his actions as champions, said nothing about his actual desire to hold that championship.
I thought this was a classic example of overthinking things. You have a match in 2 weeks where the whole objective is that finally the numbers game will not be in their favor. We have a shark cage. That should been the whole basis of this promo. Was it 2-on-1? He was beaten, and
He mentioned it.
He mentioned it, but there was no emotion in this. There was no. I didn't feel there was any emphasis on the shark cage, other than a passing mention. Last week felt like it was a chore that we had to get the title off of this guy and make people forget about it as fast as possible. That this guy somehow lost. Very unrelatable. He says that Owens will be complaining at the Rumble and did state that no one can beat him one-on-one, and he will then headline his third WrestleMania. Paul Heyman comes out, and he is the calm before the storm for when Brock Lesnar arrives later tonight. And this time, he got tons of Goldberg chants, unlike that fateful night in Minneapolis. These were loud Goldberg chants that they grew into. And he puts over Lesnar and then gets interrupted by Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. And there was a sign that read, this might have been better than the Reigns kid. Y2J and KO watch Degrassi. This in Arkansas.
Wow, was that a sign?
Yes.
I mean, there's Canadian, and Degrassi is one of the greatest Canadian inventions of our time.
Jericho says that Owens beat Reigns, is going to beat Reigns. Jericho's going to win the Rumble, and then no matter what, they will still be the U.S. and Universal Champion after WrestleMania. Owens says he doesn't know if that WrestleMania math adds up, and then just goes right into his promo. A very subtle line he snuck in here. Seth Rollins comes out and says you cannot discuss the main event of WrestleMania without Seth freaking Rollins. And he missed last year's show, so this year he's going to make up for it by winning the Rumble. And then Braun is out, who stares down Reigns, and then Brock Lesnar comes out for the biggest reaction of anybody here. And as they're all in the ring, Sami Zayn comes out from the crowd, jumps Strowman from behind. Everyone fights. Reigns goes for a Superman punch. There was a flying knee from Rollins to Strowman. Lesnar suplexed Reigns out of the ring. It was left with Lesnar and Zayn, and Lesnar delivered a released German to Zayn. And then Lesnar challenged Strowman to come fight him. And Strowman got onto the apron, but then jumped off. And Reigns returns with a Superman punch to Lesnar, and then knocks down Owens and Jericho. Lesnar gets back up, and he finishes Reigns with an F5. And that was Cole stating that this was the storm that Heyman was referring to.
Ah, yes. I thought it was a good, simple segment showcasing all of the star power in the Rumble match. And Brock's physicality, anytime he shows up, is just awesome. I think he adds a lot to the overall main event picture.
I'm looking ahead that they've now put out all the advertising for Brock Lesnar, and he is on like every Raw until WrestleMania, with the exception of 1 week in February. I don't know what they're going to come up for this with this guy for all these weeks going into WrestleMania.
A lot of it will probably just be him walking out with Paul talking. I wouldn't want him to do too much, you know. But, you know, with that schedule, you could assume that he'll probably have a match in February in addition to WrestleMania.
Yeah, he's not advertised for Fastlane, unlike Goldberg, who is. But yeah, possible. Very possible. There was a Total Divas promo. This week, it is Lana's bachelorette party. Are you going to watch this one?
I am actually caught up. With
You're
Total
all
Divas.
caught up?
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened on last week's show with Paige's neck injury?
Except for last week, because of the Canadian delay.
Oh, right. It hasn't aired yet.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Paige's neck injury, and the point I'm at right now is she has only told Eva about the injury, and then
the cameras.
And the cameras, yes. But then one day in backstage, Mark Carrano comes up to Paige and gets Paige to admit that there's something wrong with her neck, and Paige freaks out at Eva, assuming that Eva told, when in fact it was actually Natty casually mentioning it because Natty had a house show match scheduled with Paige and wanted to know if she was going to be okay to make it. And Paige just like freaks out, even though I think everybody knew she was hurt just simply by the way she was acting. So it's an interesting season. It's interesting primarily because all the girls featured are pretty much dating wrestlers, so you get to see a lot of like.
Is Alberto on this season?
No, not really.
Oh.
She mentions the relationship with Alberto, but you never see him talk. But Rusev is in a lot of it, and Rusev is very.
Well, this was hilarious because they show the promo where Lana doesn't have the accent, and then we cut to her ringside. It just seems really weird that even in the body of Raw, we just go from one to now she's this completely different character in the next shot.
Yeah, I think it's understood that like in Total Divas, it's sort of it's outside of the WWE universe. It's a different dimension.
Yeah, where they don't speak the same way as they do.
Lana pretty much.
She doesn't even go by that name on Total Divas, does she?
She does.
She goes by Lana.
What's weird is that her dad calls her Lana. Her mom calls her Lana.
It's so weird.
And
what's the thinking there? Because other people don't switch their names on that
it's
show.
their branding.
Or they do. They have their real names.
It's their branding, I guess.
I guess Paige goes by Paige.
Paige goes by Paige.
You had TJ.
Trinity goes by Trinity and not Naomi. So
there's no rhyme or reason.
No, not really. But with Lana, I'm assuming that her having a fake Russian accent throughout all this stuff would have been too much to take.
I disagree.
But
I think it would have been awesome.
But like her character, I mean, her role on Total Divas is she's pretty much like an American girl born to like parents who were very strictly religious. She was raised, I believe, in Russia, or she spent some time in Russia because her parents were like missionaries or something. But she pretty much plays like an American girl, dating Rusev, who I'm sure is putting on a bit, but he is tremendously entertaining. He does not let his gimmick up at all. He hates American things. He hates like traditional American weddings and doesn't want a typical American wedding. Doesn't like American food. So he's very entertaining.
What food does he not care for?
Oh, like shitty American food, I guess.
A lot of people. I don't hold that as a strike against the man.
Yeah.
Rusev and Jinder Mahal, who I believe if he was on Total Divas, they would change his first name to Jacked.
Jacked.
He is looking something else these days.
Sure.
Against Enzo and Cass. Enzo's out of his wheelchair and says now that he's walking, he's done talking. Cole says Jinder is in the best shape of his life. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Enzo and Cass clear the ring. They go to a break. The heels have the advantage on Enzo. This crowd was really hot for this match. Mm-hmm. They were very much into Enzo being beaten and just trying to get the hot tag. Rusev applied a bear hug, and then Enzo got out, hit a tornado DDT, tagged in Cass, who fired up on Jinder, hit a splash, Empire Elbow. Rusev made the save, and then there was a big boot to Jinder after they got rid of Rusev and hit the bada boom shakalaka as Enzo pinned Jinder Mahal. It's been a few weeks since I've got to say bada boom shakalaka.
I think it's just boom shakalaka.
No, it's always bada boom.
Oh, it's bada boom shakalaka?
Yeah, it's the play off his catchphrase.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
It was a tag match, but the crowd was hot for this.
Yeah, because the team's over, and I don't doubt that. But I feel like even here, Enzo, he hit the move, and then he almost like let the cover up before the 3 count hit. So I think he's very talented on the microphone, but I think he has a lot of room for improvement in ring. Both of them do, I feel.
Yeah.
They're also the announcers were kind of trying to put over Jinder as this like new and improved guy, but in the entire time that these guys have been teaming together, him and Rusev, I don't recall once Jinder getting any type of mic time, or any time to really.
They need to have some segments of these two going to the gym together.
Or something with Jinder. I mean, because beyond that little.
Hanging out on the beach.
Group therapy thing? What beach thing?
I'm saying they should, like the two of them bonding outside of the ring.
I'm saying, yeah, but beyond that group therapy session, we know nothing about Jinder or how he really fits into this tandem.
No, we don't. We don't know a thing about this man. Yeah. They had this random, feature to promote Triple X. So to do this, they put, in the corner, a Triple X logo and just showed random highlights of Lita's career from the 2000s.
Yeah.
No mention of Triple X, no explanation of this bizarre attachment of Lita to Triple X. Just highlights of Lita, and then it ended, and we just resumed without any mention of Triple X or Lita. Nothing. This was the most bizarre promo I've ever seen on a WWE broadcast.
Oh, it was not the most bizarre. Promo.
No, it wasn't the most bizarre. It was maybe the most random.
It was lazy.
There was no connection.
Well, I mean, she's extreme. And isn't that what the X's stand for? Extreme?
You did a better job than they did of connecting that one.
Yeah, it was just one of those excuses to put a logo in.
Couldn't they have used like Val
in.
Venus clips?
Oh, because it's Triple X. Yeah, no. Is she? She's no longer with the company, right?
She is not. She may be under a Legends deal, but
Right.
she has no role any longer. I don't even know if she actually has a Legends deal.
Some marketing exec out there just probably thought it was a decent idea. You want to give us a bunch of money? Okay, well, let's. We'll put it.
This
we
was
got,
maybe
we got
the-
a Lita tape.
Maybe
here.
this was the
Let's-
bottom tier buy-in for WWE. It's like, oh, you want to
yeah.
get us? No, we'll give you a spot.
The Rock, you got to pay a lot more.
This
for
was no
for a highlight
Subway
pack.
integration into the show.
Yeah.
Jack Gallagher was on commentary with Austin Aries to promote the I Forfeit match for Tuesday night on 205 Live as Arya Daivari took on the poor Lindsay Dorado. When this guy comes out, you know he's not winning. And the crowd is silent. And this was after they were just going nuts for this tag match. I feel they've got to ditch this purple everything. I think it's just inherent that when you see this, it's a tune-out for the live crowd and probably for people at home. It says, oh, this is a break from Raw.
Yep.
And you're visually telling people that. It's like a...
It'd be one thing if what you're seeing with the purple is better than the show, but it's far inferior to the rest of the show. So you're telling people that this is something that's not part of the actual storyline, and it's essentially a different show that you're trying to wedge in between the actual show that I'm trying to watch.
Yeah, it's like that when you would turn on NBC on the Saturday morning and it was Saved by the Bell, the new class. Like, okay.
Sandwiched in between the actual
Well,
class.
sometimes they'd play it in the spot that the Saved by the Bell reruns would be when they started launching that show.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's disappointing.
I want to watch the actual show.
Right.
And you're telling me this with different people. So ditch the purple. That's my takeaway from this.
Not that it'll necessarily help that much. You know, there are much bigger problems than the colors of the ropes.
It's a start, though.
Yeah.
Daivari hit the lethal injection in this match, ending it with a stunner rather than Jay Lethal's cutter, and then applied a Cobra clutch that he has been working on.
He hit a Rainmaker too, didn't he? To set up the Cobra clutch.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Well, he's been watching his tapes. Maybe he just saw Wrestle Kingdom.
Could be.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure all those guys probably watch Wrestle. I feel like every wrestling fan has probably just watched Wrestle Kingdom.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Daivari get mounted and use an Ezekiel choke off his back while being mounted.
Wow.
Did you see that on Sunday?
No, I did not.
Oh, come on. Alexei Olenek got mounted by Victor Pesta.
Oh.
And he applied an Ezekiel choke while mounted way.
A no-gi Ezekiel. Nice.
Yeah, and
Cool.
Victor Pesta tapped while in mount.
Sweet.
This will be submission of the year.
Nice.
Just go back and watch that from Sunday. That's the only thing you need to see on that card.
Yeah. So that didn't happen here.
No, it didn't happen here, but it made me think of this when Aries or Graves explained how Daivari's been working on this submission.
Right.
Working on that squeeze.
There's no reaction to the finish, and that's because, it was his first time using the move. That's fine. I think it's an improvement. I couldn't tell you what the Daivari's finisher was before.
You know why? Because tomorrow night they have an I Quit match, and this guy's got no submissions.
Yeah. Well, what's Gallagher's except for the leg lock, which he never uses?
He's going to put him in the pretzel.
That
That will be his I forfeit. He's going to roll him down the ramp.
I think that would be tremendous.
He'll roll him up, and then he'll roll him down.
But he hasn't used that either.
Maybe he'll roll him outside the arena into the cold.
So with these 205 guys, I feel like we're watching developmental take place on Raw itself. I feel like each week these guys are kind of tinkering with their characters and trying to tinker with their movesets. And they're doing storylines that are really basic and, again, probably much better served for an NXT or even something that's not even on TV yet. I mean, it's interesting, but I worry that the audience will only see these guys as developmental guys for months down the road, even when they do inevitably get better.
They showed video highlights of the UK tournament from over the weekend. And then there were highlights of Sasha going through the medical evaluation on her knee from earlier in the day. And then Nia Jax showed up attacking Sasha in the ring and goes after her left knee. I like this.
I liked it too. It's something different from your typical, walking around in a perfectly lit shot, getting attacked.
Parking lot attack.
Yeah, this is nice. I like them shooting angles kind of out of the box like this. And, yeah, I guess, sure, it was cool, including Nia being in her outfit. I feel like I would have liked this better if Nia was in, like, street clothes or something. You're telling me that Nia is in, like, dressed up, suited up all day.
She's not like most girls.
Yeah, she just wears her outfit all the time.
Did you feel more should have been done about the UK tournament? I thought they could have done an interview with Tyler Bate.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
a satellite interview, this giant win.
Yeah.
Go watch it on the network. I mean, they did a package, but, I mean, that's Triple X basically had a package.
I agree with you. They definitely should if it's something that you're trying to promote interest in on the network. However, I could see their concern, number one, because look at the cruiserweights. Do you expect, a bunch of UK guys that only debuted this past weekend to get any type of different reaction? It would be a segment that would likely not do very well. Secondly, I assume that the people writing Raw have nothing to do with the cruiser or the UK contest or UK tournament, and therefore probably wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, they should. They should. This is your
probably
product,
should,
and
yeah.
this is your flagship show to shine a light on your
I know.
projects within your own company, and that was a big deal over the weekend.
I agree. I feel like, though, right now they're probably treating that UK tournament like it's just another network show, like it's Ride Along, or Table for Three.
Well, Cesaro and Sheamus defended the tag titles against Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and they announced that Sheamus and Cesaro are in the Royal Rumble. And in terms of advancement of anything in the Rumble, that was about it on this show. If you were to say, John, what happened on Raw? What did I miss? I couldn't really tell you anything on the show other than Sheamus and Cesaro are now in the Rumble. That was our Royal Rumble news on Monday.
It's pretty much set. What else can you really announce for it?
That's it. We had 3 hours of. It's pretty much
That was this show. That was this edition of Raw.
They got the heat on Cesaro in their corner. Sheamus tagged in, hit a battering ram, shoulder tackle to Gallows, and then a top rope clothesline. The referee stopped Cesaro, and Anderson drop-kicked Sheamus in the knee, who went to the floor. They went through a break, and they had the advantage on Sheamus, who eventually tagged Cesaro. He went for the swing to Anderson. It got stopped. Then Gallows was out of the ring. Cesaro hit the Swiss 1-9 and a cross-body to Gallows on the floor, and then runs into an Anderson spinebuster. Sheamus returns for the save. He fires up, and in throwing punches, nails the referee, who is out. Gallows then kicks Sheamus. He's sent shoulder first to the post, and they hit the Magic Killer to Cesaro. No referee, and Derek Moore runs in, counts 3, when the other referee comes back and then calls for a DQ, and the audience was very disappointed that they did not get this title change. So by Sheamus blatantly taking out this referee, he saved his title.
Yeah. I found the booking really weird here because I don't recall many Dusty finishes that were done
To fuck the heel.
Yeah, and essentially baby facing the heels here.
Yeah.
So I don't get this at all. I guess they need to prolong the storyline, but I feel like this was a very counterproductive way of doing it. And the match itself, I couldn't agree with the crowd when they were chanting, "This is awesome."
No.
This match was not awesome. It was long, but long doesn't necessarily mean it was awesome. I thought it was actually, with the exception of Cesaro's comebacks, which are always great, I thought the match was a little slow and really just kind of felt like your typical formulaic WWE heavyweight tag team match.
They recapped the opening segment and then threw to a video feature that they did on Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah.
And this was...
Did you expect it?
It didn't surprise me, no. I thought a graphic would have been sufficient. Mm-hmm. I didn't think the video feature was necessary.
They took
here.
a solid stance, They didn't really kind of teeter on the fence here. They're fully with it.
Well, it was just very bizarre to watch.
Anyway, we talked about this.
You're right. We're repeating ourselves.
Yeah.
Emelina promo. The only thing I have to add about this is that I looked up when the first Emelina promo aired. Do you want to guess when the first one aired?
I'm going to guess July.
It was October the 3rd.
Okay.
105 days ago. So we are coming up on 4 months of premiering soon of these photos.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn was backstage with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins.
Jeez.
I feel this entire segment was based on that story.
Yeah.
With Jericho and Owens on the podcast of Zayn going over that match and Brian Kendrick just losing his shit with Sami Zayn. This was to be a spoof on Sami Zayn putting a match together where he's talking a million miles a minute and not listening to anyone.
This seems like, from what I gather, it seems to be Sami Zayn's reputation backstage is he's just
really annoying.
An over-enthused, annoying guy who kind of wants every detail of a match mapped out his way. And I'm sure this was a rib.
That's totally what this was. And it ends with him putting his fist in the middle, and Reigns and Rollins just walk off. And I've got to say, Zayn came off like a
terrible,
like a goof here.
Of course,
like he was just the butt of the joke, which he's never been.
This
before.
was a real joke, though. This
it was
a practical joke, essentially put on air that I felt was really damaging for this guy's character.
I thought the fist in the middle was actually the worst because he looked like such a dork at the end of this.
You're trying to portray this guy with all the Strowman stuff. You're trying to portray him as this kind of heroic babyface, this heroic underdog. And here, up against the two legitimate main event babyfaces,
this was a Santino Marella kind of role.
He looks like a clown, which I think is terrible.
Rich Swann and Tony Nese never got started because Neville came through the crowd attacking Swann. They had to be separated by officials. Then Nese joined in, and Neville stopped Nese and dumped him to the floor. And Neville was then interviewed backstage by Mike Rome, who was asked why he attacked Swann now before his title shot. And Neville called all the fans hypocrites. He will break Swann's unbreakable spirit, and which would technically make it breakable, and says he'll hand his title over to the one and only king of the Cruiserweights.
Sorry, what was his explanation for attacking him before the match?
He just went into calling everybody hypocrites.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, I still think Neville's great. I thought he was great on the in the UK tournament against Tommy End, and here I think every week he just continues to show a surprising confidence as a heel that he never had a chance to show as a babyface.
He is he's most improved of 2017 already.
Sure. Yeah.
New Day comes out and they start cutting their promo. Did you notice they had the TNA logo on their tights?
Were they what?
Biggie and Kofi. They had like the
the
owl on their tights. This is the first time I noticed this.
Yeah, I didn't notice. No.
They put over all the different names in the Royal Rumble. And then they note it's every man for himself. Before saying if one of them wins, then they all win. And they all will become Universal Champion. Factually incorrect.
The Freebird rule wouldn't apply?
For Royal Rumble winners no, I don't think they would set up a 3-on-1 handicap match at WrestleMania.
No,
where they would share the title. They said they would all become the Universal Champion.
If one of them won. That's what they said.
No, they said, well, if one wins, they all win.
Right, okay.
Titus interrupts. He doesn't want to be in the New Day any longer. He wants to face one of them for their Rumble spot. Big E accepts on the condition that if he wins, Titus can no longer send them texts, DMs, or show up with a fake mustache and a pizza box with a hole in the bottom, as he got in a dick in a box joke on Raw.
Right.
And then we got into a match that I said I forfeit 30 seconds into it. This went 5 minutes. You could have told me it went 50. It ended with the big ending. It was the much desired ending.
Yeah, this was terrible.
The Titus brand stock continues to fall, is how Michael Cole called this finish. This went forever.
I never want anybody to lose their job.
Oh, God, way.
Or like ability to provide for their families. But I hope Titus gets released because I'm just done with this guy. It's been months and months and months now. It's been years. Let's be honest here. I don't want to see him taking up another second of TV time. And I say this with his benefit in mind. I feel like this guy, from all accounts,
Him and Billy Gunn should be a tag team in New Japan.
I think he should get out of wrestling. I think Titus should. Seriously. I mean, from what Batista says, this guy seems very talented. He's clearly, capable of things outside of the company. I feel like at this point, I don't think this dude is going to achieve anything under this system and under whatever reputation he has backstage. So why not leave? Quit. Do something else. Do something better for your sense of pride. I think this sucks.
There was a Remember the Rumble feature with Jim Duggan from 1988. And then Charlotte comes out calling herself the pay-per-view queen. And then she shows she's been doing some web searching. She has been going through Bayley's history and found fan photos of Bayley with John Cena, which looked to be at least a decade old, Ivory, Rob Van Dam, and Charlotte is mocking Bayley for being obsessed. And then there was a photo with Bret Hart. And then she says that Bayley was also a poet and shows a poem that she wrote in June of 2005 when Bayley was in 10th grade about becoming a wrestler. And says while she was dreaming, Charlotte was training and being recruited in volleyball. Charlotte tries to read this poem on the Titantron and can't, and then insults a fan at ringside by calling them Four Eyes. And then there was an essay called My Success that she wrote for Mr. Lang. And we get a clip of Bayley reading this from the Performance Center. And Charlotte mocked Bayley for crying. A Flair mocking another one for crying in public. Charlotte hopes she got an F because it's a pile of empty dreams. And she says that she is the franchise player and was born into this business. And then Bayley came out. Before we get into the second half of this, what did you think of Charlotte's work during the first half of this?
I thought she was tremendous. I love the concept of this thing because you can almost read it like it was, the company making fun of all the marks out there.
This was the fictionalized, this was the Raw version of Bring It to the Table.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember what you meant. But what's that dude? It's still real to me, damn it, guy. It's like everybody who's ever made fun of that guy. To I guess less of a goofy extent. The thing is, I think that stance is actually a great role for a heel. Somebody who is able to picture themselves as superior to your common fan. And I thought Charlotte did a great job of making fun of your typical wrestling nerd, in this case being Bayley.
So Bayley is out and says, this is not necessary. Charlotte says Bayley is an average fan, just like all these people. And Bayley says she's not embarrassed for her passion. Bayley says she didn't have a father that could make one phone call to open the door for her, but she did have a dad that took her to all of the WWE events in San Jose at the SAP Center, regardless of whether he had money or not, and told her dad that one day that would be her in the ring.
I thought a hell of a comeback from Bayley. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then it continued.
Yeah.
Then we had to go into territory I don't want to see the Bayley character enter into again. Right. Because some moron said, hey, she did poems. This is great. So Bayley then went on to recite 3 poems after this, including Roses are red, violets are blue, at Royal Rumble, I will defeat you, which I would have got an F if I wrote that in grade 2. She did continue, and Corey Graves summarized this for everybody at home, saying, this is terrible. The poems were unnecessary.
The poems were very unnecessary.
Up till that point, great segment.
Her promo was great. I thought the stuff about her dad getting tickets even though they couldn't afford it is something that I feel like so many wrestling fans watching could relate to.
I wonder if he took her to a Strikeforce card in San Jose.
Doubtful.
See Gina Carano and Cyborg.
She'd probably be in Invicta right now, not in the WWE.
We also got her real name splashed on the Titantron.
Right, Yes.
The hugger, Pamela Martinez.
But I thought a great promo from Bayley, finally showing a bit of fire. And again, like Charlotte's work here, Bayley's work here, all done to really make that character a lot more relatable. And, but I feel like the poem really disrupted the serious tone that they set up here. And it got a bit of a pop because I think people, like Bayley, they kind of cheer for rhymes. But overall, it just kind of, the goofiness seemed mistimed here, I felt.
Braun Strowman is backstage. Owens and Jericho walk up to talk strategy. As Jericho says, with our brains and your brawn, they can be unstoppable. And Owens tells Braun to take out Roman Reigns for 2 weeks or something around that time. Jericho thinks that Braun should destroy Rollins, so essentially they're trying to manipulate the monster to take care of Reigns and Rollins. Strowman says he does what he wants, how he wants, when he wants, and he's going to eliminate everyone in the Rumble and then take the Universal title at WrestleMania and will make Reigns, Rollins, and Zayn scream mercy for their lives tonight. Brian Kendrick took on Cedric Alexander, and Kendrick had the advantage early on here. Noam Dar was watching backstage. Alexander came back with chops. Then Kendrick landed an elbow. Alexander landed a spinning elbow and then an enziguri in the corner, followed by a springboard clothesline. Alexander lifts him up for the lumbar check, but Kendrick rakes the eyes and applies the captain's hook when Alicia Fox runs down and pushes the rope out for Cedric to grab right in front of this referee.
In full view of the referee. Like, is that legal? Can you do that? You're not technically touching anybody.
This was blatant interference.
You're making contact.
This was a manipulation of the working area.
I thought so. So this is either just really sloppy or maybe it's a rule that needs to be clarified.
So Cedric makes it to the floor. He's confused and then takes a wrecking ball drop kick from Kendrick. And Kendrick gets into Alicia's face where Alicia says that she loves everybody. Then Kendrick returns to the ring. Alexander counters a captain's hook attempt and hits the lumbar check, and he defeats Kendrick. Fox gets in the ring. She's cheering for Cedric, and they go for a hug, and then Cedric ducks underneath and leaves without her, as Michael Cole says, dissed.
Right. Yes.
Dissed.
Yeah. I think the most babyface thing Cedric did here was to duck under Alicia Fox's hug, I guess. Other than that, I feel like the storyline is just kind of confusing all the way through and not all that engaging, in my opinion. Like, Noam Dar was just watching in the background. What's his role in all this now? They broken up?
I don't know, but I think dissed feud is losing my interest after last week. But I spoke too soon because then... Oh, wait, we still have a Nia Jax promo here. She was interviewed by Mike Rome, who was very busy on this show. She called Sasha.
Who is this dude?
He was the ring announcer for the Cruiserweight Classic.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He's been around. Calls Sasha a wannabe tough girl, does Nia. Says the aura of the boss is done. She broke the boss, and now the people are buzzing about the right woman.
Yeah, she sounded much more comfortable, I'd say.
And then Alicia Fox was with our man, Mike Rome. Says that her and Cedric just had a disagreement and doesn't want to talk about it. And Rome asks, is this all about you helping Dar last week? I can't even recite what Alicia Fox said.
Please try.
I can't possibly do this. This was maybe the worst delivered line ever in the history of speech on tape. The worst.
That far? She does her Alicia Fox thing that only Alicia Fox can do.
Well, that's not a good thing.
Well, it's keeping her employed up to this point, which is more than you can say for a lot of the girls on the roster.
Do you want her fired too?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't want anybody fired, okay? There's certain people that I feel like could accomplish more outside of this company than staying in. I'm not sure about that for Alicia Fox. Maybe this is the ceiling here. But I'm saying, like... She is interesting.
Do you realize
the fact that we're talking about her?
That when you and I are sitting in this booth, which we will be in fucking 18 years, I know it, and we're getting set for WrestleMania 51.
Yeah.
Do you realize there's I would say 65% chance that one of those Mondays before WrestleMania 51, which will probably be a Death Star as the logo, where WrestleMania is taking place,
Death Star.
the the 5th inductee into that year's Hall of Fame will be Alicia Fox.
It's possible.
I think it's very possible.
Sure. Yeah. It's not possible. To have that happen, you would have a number of people ahead of her first.
Titus and Alicia could go
Wow.
in that same year. I think Titus will be in earlier.
Perhaps. But I mean, if we get to that point, if Alicia sticks around up until that point, I feel like she would probably have to accomplish a certain level. But I'm just saying, like, Alicia...
I don't know if she'll have to accomplish a certain level.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe not. I don't know.
The Godfather went in. The Godfather.
But The Godfather is a beloved character. I would hardly say that about Alicia Fox, you know?
She may have a whole generation of people where they'll play that infamous segment of her hitting Nia with a box, and Nia will induct
That's
her.
her thing, though, you know? Like, and I'm sure Vince gets a real kick out of it. It's just script Alicia Fox to have an Alicia Fox-style freak-out on live TV where she makes a fool out of herself, and it's somewhat entertaining. I think the fact that we're talking about it and the fact that, like, we still get that great moment of her throwing the box in Nia Jax's face says that she is interesting to watch on TV.
This woman has been on WWE television since it may be 9 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Yeah, sure.
9 to 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
They throw the first inductee for this year's Hall of Fame class. Alicia. Kurt Angle is our inductee that will be going in Orlando on March 31st. And at the end of this video they played was highlights of his amateur career, WWE career, nothing else. He's been quiet for the last 10 years. They thank ESPN for breaking the news. Thank you to ESPN for breaking the news, is what they said.
Yeah.
Do you want to know the tie-in to this particular arena in North Little Rock? It is in this arena in 2002 at No Mercy that Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit defeated Edge and Rey Mysterio in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Match of the Year.
Cool. Interesting.
Yes. Cole didn't mention that.
Yeah. Are you? Does this news surprise you? What do you feel about Kurt Angle coming in?
It's a good pick to put in. Why not? I figured at some point it would happen.
Is this the end of his in-ring career? Do you think that was part of the agreement?
No, I think this would increase those chances of having a match.
Interesting. So you think the WWE is willing to let this guy wrestle in the ring?
I feel he'll do a match.
Interesting.
They announced Goldberg will be on Raw in Cleveland next week. They didn't mention Lesnar, but he'll also be on next week's show. And then our main event, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and Braun Strowman against Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. Wacky Sami Zayn. He charged as they all start fighting. Reigns and Strowman cleared the ring, and then Strowman tossed Reigns over the top to the floor before the bell rang, and they went to a break. They came back, and Cole immediately refers to Braun Strowman.
What happened to Michael Cole in the span of a day? Because I thought he was tremendous.
I will not criticize him at all that he did those 2 shows and then had to fly here to do a 3-hour Raw. But you're right. It was like Michael Cole back to Michael Cole tonight.
Yeah, in the UK tournament, the guy was like, did a ton of research, was calling moves that like I didn't think he even knew what they looked like, nor the names of, and he
didn't know that Fosbury flop.
But he knew plenty of other ones.
Hey, Michael Cole was great.
And it was almost like a completely different person. But on this show, he was miscalling moves, was just kind of back to basics. And it can't be as simple as having Vince McMahon in your ear. It's got to be something else. But it felt like a different Cole.
So we continued here. The heels had the advantage on Zayn, was preventing him from tagging. Then got his knees up on an Owens senton and tagged in Reigns. Rollins tackled Jericho to the floor, and Sturman sent Rollins into the barricade. Then Braun stopped a Superman punch, and Reigns turned into an Owens super kick. They went through another commercial break. This was when Sportsnet aired the SmackDown ad from last week promoting American Alpha against the Wyatts and Cena against Corbin. Not happening this week. Rollins tagged in with Jericho, hit a blockbuster. Owens got sent to the floor. Then we had Rollins on one side of the ring, hit a suicide dive to Jericho, and Zayn with a Tope Con hero to Owens on the other. Strowman then got thrown into the steel post. Pedigree gets blocked, so does the walls. Another pedigree gets stopped as Braun is in, and Zayn attacks Strowman, gets dropped and sent out of the ring. Reigns then hit a Superman punch to Braun, who is down on one knee as Rollins dives to the floor with a high cross to Owens and Jericho. Zayn does one to Strowman for a 2 count, and then the haluva kick gets stopped by a Braun Strowman clothesline and running power slam as Braun Strowman pins Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Shocking who took the fall.
No, yeah. I thought it was a good match. I think with Rollins and Zayn in there, it became a very fast-moving match, and I thought both men were actually working well together as a tandem against Strowman. I thought it was
Rollins and Zayn?
Rollins and Zayn.
I thought these two, I wrote that down, that these two as like a
Babyface
part-time tag team, they were great together.
Sure. You could have the comedy guy and then the serious guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, the match was good.
Sammy freaking Rollins. That could be their tandem.
They'd be the James Franco and Seth Rogen of their
sure,
team. Yeah.
Sure.
Pineapple Express.
Afterwards, Strowman carries Zayn up the ramp to the announce desk. Rollins attacks him with a chair, and then Reigns spears Strowman at the entrance. They clear the announce desk, so these closing minutes had no commentary. Owens and Jericho come and attack them, and they go to deliver the Shield powerbomb to Reigns on the desk, but Rollins fights back, hits Jericho with a pedigree on the stage, and then Owens attacks Rollins, and finally hits Reigns as well with a chair, takes Reigns over to the desk, and powerbombs Roman Reigns through the announce desk to end the show. A strong moment for Kevin Owens to end the show.
It was, and I thought anytime you kind of have a reason for the commentary not being there, it kind of emphasizes the seriousness of a situation, and I thought that was the case here. But all in all, I'd say a pretty skippable episode of Raw. Not much storyline necessarily happened on this show.
Again, if you had someone ask, hey, I missed Raw, what did I miss? I don't know what I would tell you.
Yeah.
This was 3 hours and 10 minutes.
The announcements of Kurt Angle getting to the Hall of Fame. I think the Snuka thing is somewhat controversial that people, that is a bit newsworthy. Beyond that, I can't say there was much else.
That was Raw on Monday night because, as Wai said, for the Royal Rumble, it's pretty much all set. And yet we have another show next week to get us further in the mood for a show that is already set. Mm-hmm. So that is going to be next week when they are in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Quicken Loans Arena, as we will be back on Wednesday with Review-A-Smackdown, chatting about this week's SmackDown, the I Forfeit match, and a cage match we have on Tuesday night at the tapings in Memphis. And you can check out all of our shows at liveaudiowrestling.com, download the Law, and everything else, and we will speak with you.
Oh, and the Rumble Pool.
The Royal Rumble Pool. Go sign up now. We have over 300 entries already. And you have until Royal Rumble Day at noon Eastern to submit all of your picks. The winner will get a prize pack from us. You can go submit for free at royalrumble.info.
And don't forget the Pro Wrestling Tees contest.
Yes, what is the Pro Wrestling Tees contest?
The Pro Wrestling Tees contest. If you saw a question, scroll by. If you didn't, scroll back on the little thing right here. It's probably around this mark is when this question appears. Maybe around here too, the question appears. So scroll your little mouse over there. Answer the question, tweet at Law Radio, and you could win a free t-shirt, courtesy of Pro Wrestling Tees.
All right. Goodbye. Each week, you have a chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees during Review-A Raw. All you have to do is pay attention for the secret question and then submit your answer at Law Radio on Twitter, and you'll be entered into a draw to win your t-shirt, including our own brand of shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com/law.